Hey there, everybody. I am very excited to speak today with Lisa Fields and Baily Glover of Product Distribution Company. They've been a fantastic customer for us to work with in the last year or so as they deployed Storyboard Chat to their drivers. And I'm just very excited to get their perspective. Got to know them at conferences and now working with them on the Storyboard launch. But let's start with some introductions. And Lisa, I'm going to kick it to you first. Can you share a little bit about what you do and what Product Distribution Company does?
Yes. Hi, I'm Lisa Fields. I work with Product Distribution Company in the HR capacity and in a little bit in operations. But we've been working with Storyboard for several months now, probably almost a year, JP. And wanted to try to get our hands around some hands-free usage for our drivers. And this was the perfect fit so far. So
thanks, Lisa. And thanks for being here. Baily, let's turn over to you if you can introduce yourself a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Baily Glover. I've been in product distribution for going on about 7 years now. I held a few different hats here at product distribution. I'm currently the safety and asset manager for product distribution.
Thank you, Baily. And before we talk about how you use Storyboard, it'd be great to get some context on your fleet and what you do. You know, we were fortunate to get introduced through the NPTC network, working with the private fleets. Lisa, can you talk us through a little bit about the service that product distribution does, just so folks know?
Absolutely. Product distribution is actually a wholly owned subsidiary of GE Appliances. So 95% of the work that we do is running parts and finished goods for GE Appliances around the Midwest and East Coast region of the U.S. And we've been in business since 1982.
That's exciting. Yeah. Baily, I'm going to kick this one to you. And like Lisa said, almost a year ago, I think we launched our first product distribution driver maybe around December of last year. So a year's probably right. When you went out into your dispatch office, when it came to communicating with drivers, what was the process like before Storyboard for your drivers? Let's say if they needed help from a dispatcher or they were getting load instructions, what did that look like before?
Yeah. So what we did in the past is we would just call the drivers, right? We would call the drivers while they're driving because we had no other means to get the information to them. Sure, we have our ELD provider, Samsara, that we can send messages to, but the drivers can't get those messages until they stop. And sometimes we have to reach out to them while they're driving, whether say it's an accident, shut down the interstate, ahead of them, or the load got changed, so we need to have them change routes. And trying to do that in 2025, when you have all of these nuclear verdicts out in the industry, it's very painful, right? So that's why, we ultimately wanted to partner with Storyboard.
We can understand and have that communication, hands-free communication to our drivers.
Yeah, that's the situation I think a lot of the folks listening probably think about who might not be using Storyboard yet is we all know that we want drivers to be hands-free, but there wasn't a great way to kind of guarantee it and make sure that those communications would come out hands-free when a driver was in the cab. Lisa, I know we got introduced kind of early on through, I believe it was a conference where we met for the first time. Do you remember, was there a light bulb moment or anything like that where you were like, you know what, we should try the Storyboard thing? Or what did that look like for you?
It was actually interesting. Brian and Cass met you at the NPTC safety conference first. And on our trip down there, Brian, Cass, and I were actually having a conversation about thinking about ways to communicate with our drivers that wasn't text message or phone call while they were driving. And we even said, I wonder if there's any technology out there. And then we got there and ran into you and was like, this is exactly what we were just talking about and what we're looking for. So yeah, we were looking for it. And there you were.
I didn't know that before. Yeah. It's funny how the right place, right time thing works out sometimes. But yeah, it was, I think learning and learning about your fleet and then coming to Kentucky and getting to meet folks. That was something I really appreciated was the focus that you all had at a leadership level of we want to take the next step. We know that we need to communicate, as Baily said, with drivers when they're on the road. And now we can do it, and we can do it from our tablet and do it in a way that's hands-free. Baily, let me kick a question to you here. So if I can share this, one thing that really impressed me about your launch was, I would say a couple of months in, the way I would describe it is We had some drivers who were using it, some drivers who weren't using it yet. And it felt like almost overnight, we saw an explosion in usage for the fleet across the terminals that you manage. Tell us the secret sauce. What did you do as a management team that was so effective in kind of pushing the product and getting drivers to adopt it?
Yeah. Drivers hate change, right? And not just drivers. I think everybody hates change. But what really drove it for us was actually you all, the Storyboard people. And the reason being is when we first got Storyboard, and you know this, JP, it wasn't what we were looking for to a T, right? We got with you and we're able to kind of let you know exactly what we need, and you all built it for us. So with you all being there to assist, and with us doing, I want to say we did probably about a two or 3 month kind of trial with just one of our domiciles, just to make sure that we understand how it operates and before we send it out to the bigger fleet, right? So that trial really helped us to tweak things and understand what we need, and really just letting the drivers know, hey, this is not something that we're just adding to you. This is why we are doing it. And we want to go hands-free to eliminate these litigation issues that we're seeing nowadays in the trucking industry.
Yeah, Baily, that all really connects. And I think there's a couple things that I would underline in some Sharpie. Obviously, appreciate the kind words. But one part of it is your team, I think, is really effective at thinking about the way technology can work and communicating very clear things of, hey, if we can do this, that would help us kind of solve this next opportunity for us. So feelings mutual. We really appreciate that. But Lisa, let me kind of ask a question to your side. Thinking about HR, and I'm thinking about maybe the driver experience. How important is that, whether you're looking at Storyboard or you're looking at other vendors that you work with, that you have that partnership where you can come and talk about things that, hey, we want to do this with the product and can we make it happen? How important is that when you think about that as a fleet leader?
It's actually become very important, so much so that I didn't even realize it was, because now when we sit around and have conversations about the things that we can do better for our drivers, one of the things that we typically hear our leadership say is, how can Storyboard help with that? It's unbelievable, really, that this product can be used in so many different ways. When you think of hands-free messaging or calls or conversations, you don't think that there's that many different plays within your business. But, when we talk about incentives and employee incentive plans, we're saying, how can Storyboard help with that? And it makes you think about the different ways that you can contribute to your drivers just by using this one product.
Lisa, as you were saying that, I was thinking about one moment that I think was a big transformation for us, both for our product, but also working with product distribution drivers, because I'll kind of summarize it the way I saw it from the outside. Your team was doing such an effective job of getting drivers onboarded, getting them to use it, sharing, which Baily, I really like what you said of just sharing the why. I think that's important for any technology launch because drivers have a lot of things to manage, as all people do. But I think that's certainly true of drivers. Having them understand why we're doing this as a fleet, I think, is a great lesson for anyone listening to learn. But we hit this moment where, this was starting to hum, and I believe it was like preload instructions, but you were thinking about how can we make the Storyboard experience connect not just when drivers are in the cab, but when they're out of the cab. Can you talk a little bit about the feedback you gave us and how that's evolved over the last couple of months of how we can make this also work for drivers when they're using it on their own phone, even just to see their messages?
Yeah, absolutely. When we were first rolling this out, the one thing that was kind of iffy for me is having two different forms of communication, right? You got Storyboard for when you're in the cab, and then you just got your cell phone, text messages or calls, what drivers are on the road, what drivers are not. One thing that we found effective is not only do the drivers need to know how important it is, but the dispatchers need to know. Because if you have dispatchers that are still communicating the old way, drivers are going to see that, and they're going to continue to conversate on the old way. So it really starts with the dispatchers, making sure that they understand, hey, this is what we're doing, and this is why we're doing it. So if they can start that process, then those drivers will fall through. And so far, our drivers love it. At first, like I said, nobody likes change. So, of course, it was another thing that the company's throwing at them that they have to do. But as we started using it, the drivers have absolutely loved using the product.
Folks, this was great insight. Thank you for talking us through your storyboard journey over the first year. Here's my closer. Are there any other, some of the folks who are going to listen to this are going to be other fleet leaders who are getting started on Storyboard, or they're thinking about getting started on Storyboard with their drivers. Are there any other lessons learned that, looking at what worked for you all, you would maybe suggest to them that pop out to you?
I would say don't stop at just the conversation, right? Just to go more towards the last thing that I said, your product can be used in so many different ways that I don't even think the full capacity yet. You all are still rolling out new features, and anybody who's looking to use this product, don't stop at just the communication between dispatch and the drivers. There's so many more uses for it.
Absolutely. I mean, worst case somebody can say is no, right? So ask away. And I will say, like I said earlier, JP, y'all have been amazing to work with. And if you all are thinking about using Storyboard, do it. Don't think about it, just do it. Because what you want to think about is those nuclear verdicts and litigations that are coming upon us. It could really save you. Absolutely.
Lisa and Baily, thank you so much for being on this call and sharing your insight with other fleet leaders. And thank you for all you've done for Storyboard. I really mean it. We've learned so much working with you, and it's always great every time we see an email or see you at the conference, because we know it's going to be something good for us to go work on. So big thank you to both of you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep. Thank you.